Welcome to this week's episode of Ask Nutrish Mish, where I am answering all of your weight loss and nutrition questions. If you have a question that you want me to answer, make sure you're following me on Instagram at MishofNutrishMish. Slide into my DMs and I will be sure to get to your question. Today's question is actually great. It's one of my favorites. It's, should I have a cheat day when I'm trying to lose weight? Cheat days are such like a diet term, right? Like every time that people are on a diet, you hear the word cheat day. Personally, I hate that term cheat day. To me, cheating means you're doing something wrong, right? If you're cheating on your boyfriend or girlfriend, that's not good. If you're cheating on the test, that's not good. When you're cheating on your diet, it sounds like you're doing something bad. So I know this is like a little bit of a nuance, but sometimes the way that you talk to yourself about these things dictates how successful you are. So I like the idea of maybe not a cheat day, but cheats if we want to call it that, but I hate calling it that word. I like to call it more like indulgences or entertainment food. Here's a really great example, right? When somebody has a healthy relationship with money or finances, that doesn't look like they take all of the money that they make and they put it towards their bills or their mortgage and that's it, right? It means that they have a synergy between their discretionary income as well as the income that they have to put towards their bills and their mortgage and that type of stuff. It's not just one and not all of the other. With nutrition and food and weight loss, it's actually the exact same thing. A healthy relationship with food looks like a synergy between the food that you're eating for fuel and then the food that you're eating for fun. You can have both and still lose weight. And here's why you should. Food serves two different purposes. The primary purpose is fuel. The way that I like to describe it, it's the tools that your body needs to make you the right way. That stupid phrase, you are what you eat, that cheesy phrase you learned like back in the day, it's actually really true. Everything that you're eating, that's exactly what your body's making you out of. And if you're giving your body, the wrong tools over time, over and over again, eventually you're probably gonna get made wrong, and that's how people get sick. So you can't just have cheats, right? You can't just have the entertainment food. You wanna really include that fuel. But that being said, there is a time and a place for both. Fuel is what you wanna have primarily, right? That should be maybe like 80% of the time. And actually at Nutrish Mish, in our program, we have a formula where we could tell you exactly how much of the fun stuff you can get away with and still lose weight. But for now, I would kind of take inventory of how much entertainment or indulgences you're having. And the way I like to describe that is food that doesn't have a ton of nutritional value. So that would be like popcorn, pretzels, cookies, kind of like the obvious stuff like that. Those things that you're like, all right, well, I really enjoy eating them, but I know they're not really providing a lot of nutrition. So we have food that's gonna be for fuel, and then we have food that's gonna be for entertainment or fun. So how much can you get away with of each? Here's what I would say to do. Think of it this way. Your body's used to exactly what you're doing right now. So the best example I like to use all the time, you might have heard this in one of my other videos. If I have a guy that comes in to see me, right, and he's eating 10 cheeseburgers a week, and now he's eating 7, that might not be ideal, but he's gonna see results that week. So often we feel like we need to eat perfectly in order to see results. And the problem is A, we don't have to eat perfectly to see results, but then B, when you do try to eat perfectly, it's not a natural progression, you don't have the foundation for that, and it's not sustainable. So you end up doing it for a short period of time, but then what ends up happening is you revert back. When you're very like all or nothing with your eating habits, meaning like you're eating quote unquote perfectly, you're not having any entertainment food, you're depriving yourself across the board, what ends up happening is then once you stop, when you go off, you pretty much go off really hard. So people who eat that way tend to always struggle with nutrition and weight loss because they're constantly giving 100 and then they're taking 100, so you're always left with 0. Here's why it's also really important to have a synergy between the food that you're eating for fuel and the food that you're eating for fun. When you go on a lot of diets and things like that, they tell you can't have any of this stuff, right? That's usually like the hallmark of a diet is you're only supposed to eat the fuel foods, right? What ends up happening is now you're telling yourself you can't have it. The second I tell you can't have something, doesn't matter what it is, what are you gonna want? Whatever that thing is, right? We all want what we can't have. Here's a great example. In high school, did you like the guy or girl in high school that liked you, or did you like the guy or girl in high school that didn't like you? Always the one that doesn't like you until they like you and then you lose interest, right? So we all want what we can't have. But then once we get it, the novelty kind of wears off. So if you lived in a family and maybe you were really like, you've had strict parents and they were a little strict around food and you weren't allowed to eat these things, that's kind of the hallmark of somebody that might struggle with that stuff as they get older. Or let's say you've tried a lot of diets and you're like, oh, I really want to lose the weight fast. I have to be really strict. I have to be really good about it. And I can't eat any of these foods. Well, now you're putting it on a pedestal. Now you're going to want them even more. And then what happens a lot of the times is because you've been so restricted, when you go off hard. And you end up having this like all or nothing personality type around food where like when you're quote unquote good, you're really good. But then the second that you're not anymore and you've crossed over to what you might deem bad, you're out of control. Now you're eating anything and everything you could before because you weren't allowed to have it and now you are. So it kind of creates this really unhealthy all or nothing relationship with food. So it's really important that you actually do include some entertainment food. You just want to be careful as to how much. Now, how much entertainment food can you get away with? That's going to vary from person to person. We actually have a formula here at Nutrish Mish where we can tell you to the thing exactly how much of the fun stuff you can get away with and still lose weight. And we teach you a strategy of budgeting it. You actually will know how much of the fun stuff I could eat. You'll know exactly what your weight's going to do. So now every decision that you make around food is very conscious. And we're not telling you can or can't have it. My accountant doesn't care what I spend my discretionary income on as long as I don't go over. Same thing with our clients. We don't care what they spend their discretionary calories on as long as they don't go over. So it really gives you the freedom to be able to go to the party or have the chocolate bar or do all of those things. And then once you do that, the novelty wears off. But if you want to try on your own, the best advice I could give you is take inventory right now of how much entertainment food you're having, and then just try to make it a little bit less than that, just like my cheeseburger guy from before. Your body will always respond to improvements. Do not try to perfect. You could probably get to your goal well before you ever have to eat anywhere near what you might consider perfect. So here's a really interesting story. I had one woman come in recently who was like a chronic dieter. So this was so out of her comfort zone. It was so out of her wheelhouse. And she was like convinced that in order for her to see results, she had to eat perfectly. She also was, in her mid 50s, and she's like, I'm going through menopause. You have no idea. Now, most of my clients are in menopause. And if you are in menopause, it's not that it's harder. It's just that the rules change, right? But still, you don't have to eat perfectly in order to see results. So I told her, based on her, what she was eating, exactly how much of the fun stuff she can get away with. All week long, she's texting me. She's like, there's no way I'm going to see results. There's no way I'm going to lose weight this week. I can't believe I'm allowed to eat all of this. But I was like, just do me a favor and trust the process. And she was shocked when she came in and she saw, for the first time in her life, I think, she didn't eat perfectly and she actually saw the scale go down. That was a huge aha moment for her and so liberating. I think a really important thing to get across is that you really don't have to eat perfectly to see results, but that being said, you do want to give your body a synergy between the fun and the fuel. Definitely don't call it a cheat day, because that implies you're doing something wrong, that implies you're doing something bad, and it's not wrong, it's not bad. You do want to have a synergy between the healthy food and maybe the not so nutritious food. In order to figure out how much you can get away with, I would say for now, take inventory of how much you're having right now in any given week and then just try to reduce it a little bit. One interesting strategy you could take is you could say, you know what, in social situations, I'm going to let myself have what I want, but maybe when I'm home and have control over my food, that's when I'm really going to prioritize fuel and giving my body, those tools that it needs to make me the right way. And that's what a healthy relationship with food looks like, just like a healthy relationship with your finances. So will you lose weight faster having no indulgences or no discretionary income or no entertainment food? Yes, you will, for a short period of time. However, if you give it a week or two, you're not going to be able to maintain that level of intensity, and then you're going to go back. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you've experienced this before. It's not your first rodeo. You've seen a situation where you were so strict, you only had the fuel food. All of a sudden, that entertainment food that you weren't supposed to have seemed so exciting, and then you almost were like binging on it because you weren't supposed to have it and you weren't allowing yourself to. So even if it takes you an extra week or two to get to your goal, who cares? Because if you stay there, that's the important thing. So if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Check out our show notes if you want to learn a little bit more about Nutrish Mish so we can help you find your perfect indulgence budget. And check out this video. I think you're really going to love it.